United States President Joe Biden arrives in central Kiev in surprise visit. This comes days before the Ukraine-Russia conflict enters its second year. Biden met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He was supposed to visit Poland earlier. The two leaders visited St. Michael's Monastery. U.S. President announced more arms supply for Ukraine. And President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he and Biden discussed long-range weapons during the visit. The White House said that Biden would announce more sanctions on Russia and military support for Ukraine. Zelensky thanked the president and also the Congress for their support. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The two leaders discussed Sweden and Finland's NATO accession. Blinken promised more help after earthquakes rocked the country 2 weeks ago. The Nordic countries' NATO bid have been stalled because Turkey has refused to ratify them. Earlier on Monday, Blinken met with Turkish Foreign Minister and said that U.S. would support Turkey for as long as it takes. Total U.S. humanitarian assistance to support the earthquake response in Turkey and Syria has reached over $185 million, and this is according to the U.S. State Department. United States delegation of lawmakers met with the head of Taiwan's legislature. Lawmakers are currently on a 5-day visit to the island nation, and the visit comes in amid tense U.S.-China relations after weeks of trading accusations over a spy balloon. Head of Taiwan's legislature said that China ignores historical fact and claims to have sovereignty over Taiwan. The delegation also acknowledged the implicit threat facing their visit, as China opposes any form of exchange between Taiwan and foreign governments.
Thank you very much, President.
Amid row over judicial reforms in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said all democracies should respect the will of other free people, just as we respect their democratic decisions. Israel's parliament is set to hold the first of 3 votes on the reform bill. The bill would increase government's powers in selecting judges. It will also set limits on the Supreme Court's power to strike down laws or rule against the executive. Meanwhile, thousands gathered in Tel Aviv and other cities for a second straight week to rally against the plan. China's top diplomat Wang Yi has arrived in Moscow for talks on a possible peace plan for Ukraine. According to reports, his visit aims to increase the role of Beijing in the Ukrainian settlement. He earlier accused the United States of violating international norms with hysterical behavior at Munich Security Conference over spy balloon. He reiterated a call for dialogue and suggested European countries must think calmly about how to end the war. China's Xi Jinping is set to deliver a peace speech on the anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine. Now, in the latest, China says United States is in no position to make demands. This comes after top U.S. diplomat warned his Chinese counterpart against China providing weapons to Russia in its war in Ukraine. He said that China's partnership with Russia is based on the basis of non-alignment, non-confrontation and non-targeting of third parties. He further clarified it is a matter within the sovereignty of 2 independent countries. Almost 3 years after the pandemic, China is gradually opening up to the normal way of life as it starts organizing job fairs as before. Authorities have announced hundreds of such events across the country this month. The job fairs may ease the youth unemployment from its near 20% peak. In a country of about 1.4 billion people, job fairs are one of the most efficient ways for employers and workers to connect. While some attendees found the fairs encouraging, many others were not really brimming with confidence. North Korea fired 2 more ballistic missiles off its east coast. Sister of leader Kim Jong-un has warned US forces to halt military drills. She also added the reclusive nuclear state could turn the Pacific into a quote-unquote firing range. The launches come just 2 days after North Korea fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into the sea of Japan's west coast. The United States held joint air exercises with South Korea and another one separately with Japan over the weekend. Japanese cabinet minister condemned North Korea's firing of ballistic missiles as well. Chief cabinet secretary said that the missiles were launched towards the east from near the west coast of North Korea. He told journalists that the launches were absolutely unacceptable as it threatens the peace and security of the region and also the international community. He added that launch also violates the relevant Security Council resolutions. Japan lodged a strong protest against North Korea through the embassy channel in Beijing. Officials reported no damage involving aircraft and vessels in the area where the missiles landed. At least 36 people have been killed due to flooding and landslides caused by heavy rains in Brazil's southeast. Meanwhile, hundreds have been dislodged, according to Sao Paulo state authorities. Rescue workers continue to look for victims, reconnect isolated communities and also clear roads. The disaster has trapped an undermined number of tourists who are in Brazil for carnival celebrations. Weather forecasts have also shown that heavy rains will continue in Sao Paulo's coastal areas. According to the official, President Lula da Silva is set to visit the mainly affected areas. New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins extended a national state of emergency for another 7 days. This comes after Cyclone Gabriel claimed about 11 lives. Hipkins stressed the decision will ensure affected areas receive the resources they need. He further said that over 6,000 people are unaccounted for, but the officials don't know that over 4,000 are okay or not. The cyclone, which was the nation's most destructive weather event in decades, brought widespread flooding, landslides and power outages. The level of damage has been compared to a cyclone that hit the country in 1988. Italy is now facing the threat of severe droughts. The European nation's rivers and lakes are already running low on water, and this can have a negative implication on its farming, hydropower and drinking water needs. Italy's National Research Council said that the rainfall was down by 40% last year. It also mentioned that the absence of rainfall since the beginning of 2023 has been significant. Last year, the Italian government brought measures to tackle drought, but process has been very slow since the arrival of new government led by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Landslide damages at least houses in Ramban's district in India's Kashmir. According to officials, all the affected families have been shifted to tents and have also been provided with blankets and utensils. The army is also providing them with food. A team of geologists is set to visit the area to find out the underlying reason, and the landslide posed great danger to the 33 kV power line and major water pipeline. A team will be deployed in the area to make an alternative route open for defense personnel and also public. Animal lovers in India gathered to participate in the pet show called the Pet Gala, where dogs of various breeds, including Labradors, Golden Retrievers, Doberman and Pug, walked the ramp. About 400 dogs walked in to participate in the event, while 280 cats took part in a feline championship. Pet Gala, which was held at the International Trade Expo Center is being held as the biggest pet show held in the region. Visitors, including children, were excited to attend the pet show as they spent quality time with the dogs and also the cats. Visitors bore an emotional farewell to the beloved giant panda, Xiang, ahead of her handover to China. Thousands of visitors flocked to the zoo to get a final look at the panda, who has been in the park's idol since she was born there in June of 2017. Despite being born in Japan, China has ownership of the panda as her parents are on loan to Tokyo Zoo from the country. The panda will leave for China tomorrow, that is Tuesday. A cafe in South Korea serves iced Americano next to broken concrete wall, resembling a construction site. The three-story building in Seoul was originally a private house and underwent renovation to become a showroom. But it became a popular cafe among young patrons with its unique mood of construction site. Covered with blue tarpaulin sheets, the cafe was called Area 092. Opened on February 1st and will run for 92 days as its name says. Renovations will resume in May when the pop-up cafe ends in 92 days run. The much-awaited Carnival of Rio de Janeiro is being celebrated with much pomp and happiness, with revelers dancing away under the sun in Rio de Janeiro. Jubilant spectators watched various music groups play on stage, performing songs in honor of iconic Brazilian musicians. Some attendees had been anxiously waiting to return to the streets during carnival season after COVID-19 restrictions were lifted. This year, the theme of the carnival is Rio was Democracy, chosen as a response to the anti-democratic riots by supporters of Brazil's former president, Jair Bolsonaro. The Italians of the northern region marked welcome the carnival season with the annual Battle of Oranges, where revelers took aim at each other in a time-honored fruit-throwing skirmish. The event, dating back to the medieval times, saw teams dressed up in brightly colored medieval costumes and engaged in a fierce orange-throwing fight that leaves the cobbled streets covered in a thick carpet of mashed pulp. This year marks the return of the Battle of the Oranges after its cancellation 3 years in a row due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The carnival started in the 1930s with the local girls throwing oranges along with flowers and confetti from their balconies onto the carnival parade carriages. Ukrainian churchgoers gathered at St. Michael's Golden Domed Cathedral in Kiev to pray for their country. Residents said that they were praying for Ukraine's servicemen, both living and also dead. Speaking to leaders gathered at the Munich Security Conference, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky urged Western allies in a video address to quicken their military support for Ukraine. A sea of red balloons was blown in the wind over rubble of demolished buildings in Hatay in memory of every child who died in the last week's earthquake. A group of volunteers, a photographer and an initiator of the project climbed up the debris and attached balloons to the metal wires sticking out from the pile of remains of the buildings. More than tens of thousands of people have been killed in the quake in Turkey and also Syria so far. The toll is expected to soar, with many apartments in Turkey having been destroyed and many still missing.